Hello, folks, and welcome to another edition of Savage Watch Killer Chronicles with Terry Sunshard. I'm actually currently right now recovering from the COVID-19 virus, and Mike will probably tell you he'll be recovering from the Terry Sutton virus, which he does every time he does one of these shows here. Actually, Mike could probably tell you he deals with a lot of different viruses out in his job, but we won't get into that.
Yeah. Yes, and
On an individual basis, I'm sure, correct?
yeah, they keep coming. They just don't stop.
They just don't stop. So obviously today we got a couple of subjects we'll talk about a couple briefly, but I know there's one that you really want to talk about. Last time we really talked to Mike, obviously off camera, we talked about Ted Kaczynski, the infamous Unabomber, which I know in a future episode we'll probably get to, but we could talk a little bit about it now. And we also talked about, we also talked about Richard Jewell, which you've been looking into quite a bit there. So I guess first we should just talk a little bit about the Unabomber, how you and I were talking about him, how, I heard an interview with him and I was very surprised how mild-mannered he sounded. Obviously, he was a Harvard educated, I guess he was Harvard educated, but he was a professor, very smart guy. But he was a psychopath. I mean, he blew all those people up there, and I understand to a certain degree his philosophy about technology, how it's destroying humanity, but no remorse. And he was definitely very upset that anybody would call him insane for what he did. But obviously, you know much more about him than I do, so I'll let you talk about your thoughts about Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber.
Well, it's funny because his profile is probably something that I would expect. He was an environmentalist, obviously to an extreme. He was concerned about the advancement of technology to an extreme. And if we look at it today, society today, I mean, he kind of hit the nail on the head. Let's face it, we're destroying the environment,
Yes.
to some great extent. The technology has made us a society where it's actually made us, I think, what I would consider a weaker society. We can't go anywhere without a phone. We can't. We sit inside more concerned about what's going on in the media and online than we do about going outside and doing things that we would have normally done.
Agreed.
And my thought on the media. I mean, if people haven't caught on right now, media themselves are plotting the way they want people to think. And the problem is people are falling for it because they don't know any better. In Kaczynski's case, the bombings, any type of bombing or violence is just not acceptable. He was exceptionally smart. You find with exceptionally smart people that they usually are very quiet. I wouldn't say pacifistic in nature because obviously he wasn't going to be blowing people up, but they're very quiet. And I believe that the reason he got away with it as long as he did because he didn't show any tendencies or characteristics of a normal bomber. I mean, he was very quiet. It was interesting though, when we talk about Richard Jewell, the actual bomber there, Eric Rudolph, is in the same cell block as him and has tried to correspond with Kaczynski, and Kaczynski won't even talk to him. Because, I mean, think about it. I mean, here you have in Jewell's case, you have a bomber who's just an extreme radical. He doesn't like certain religious groups. He doesn't like certain races. He doesn't like certain religions.
Yeah, I think he bombed he obviously the abortion clinic he bombed this is Eric Rudolph. Um, didn't he bomb like a gay nightclub? Wasn't that one of the other ones too?
right,
No, he didn't like Jewish people. I know he definitely was a white supremacist. He
right. And I mean, he actually set his brother up, um, you know, to take a hit for him when the FBI came to the house. He set his mother up by, not telling her what was actually going on. So, he would be a person that I would expect to, you know, perpetrate the typical characteristics of a bomber. Uh, and I understand Kaczynski's reasoning for not wanting to talk to him because uh, Kaczynski was an environmentalist and didn't like technology, which is a completely different spectrum from somebody that just hates everybody. One had a mission because he thought things were being destroyed. The other one just wanted to destroy things. It's two different methodologies, but um, and the funny thing in both of those cases, actually, including the Waco case, the attorney general at the time was Janet Reno,
yeah.
and then you had the lead investigator for the FBI was the same guy.
Okay.
And,
Not Louis Free. Louis Free was was he the head of the FBI?
yeah.
Okay.
And, if you look at it, the three of those the major incidents which could have been resolved rather earlier or faster
Mhm.
had the two same components, him and Janet Reno. When we get into Jules' case, there's some stuff that I'll bring out, but and people always think, well, Kaczynski lived in a shed. Well, that's not actually the truth. The building he lived in was designed by him and his brother.
Okay.
And his brother said that, Kaczynski was a mathematician. He said that the building was built to certain aspects and ratios and all of this, but he basically lived on his own. He hunted his own food, grew his own food. So that kind of
That's
tells you, gives you.
that's one of the similarities he had with Rudolph is that both were living out in the wild, but Rudolph needed help from a relative to survive, whereas Kaczynski was pretty much just surviving on his own.
He was self-sufficient, right? And
Self-sufficient. Okay, yeah. Okay.
yeah, so I mean that kind of again, you're talking, okay, they're both bombers. However, the ideology and methodology of both of them are completely in a different zone. And Krasinski's case was interesting, not to me, not so much because of the bombs that he made, but his rationale for it. Like a lot of people don't realize that the hippie movement back in the 60s started as an environmental movement. It wasn't people said it was a sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Yes, that's what it manifested itself into eventually later down the line. But the hippie movement actually started as an environmental movement because people were seeing that, the rivers were being polluted, the air was being polluted, the forests were being cut down, and we were just decimating the landscape. That's how that started. So it's not hard to believe that Kaczynski would kind of use that as a model. I mean.